Sup, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Press On Sports. I'm Jack Vita. Today, wow, I can't believe it. This is the 18th episode. Making gains here. Been a lot of fun so far. Today, we're going to be looking at the first half of the Major League Baseball season with the guy who did the season preview with me, Jordan Morandini. I'll bring him on in a second. Should be a lot of fun. We'll talk everything from who we thought should have made the all-star rosters, our starters, just to look at who we think was best, who's been the best at each position in each league so far this season, how that could change. We'll talk about the all-star game itself, and we'll take a look forward at the second half. But we also have our MVP picks for the first half from each league. Talk about some of the surprise teams. So, without much further ado, here's Jordan Morandini.
What's up, Jack? Thank you for having me back on.
Thanks, Jordan. It's great to have you here again.
Yeah, about time.
Yeah.
The busy schedules have pushed this back a little bit. We finally found time to put this together.
Yeah, finally. It's been a fun summer, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's keeping busy. That's for sure.
Also, I admire your courage for coming on today.
Courage. Why does it take courage to hop on?
Because last week's episode was the most downloaded episode of all time.
Oh, you're applying the pressure on me right off the get-go.
You know who was here, right?
It's got to be Mr. Parker Gatewood.
Yeah, everyone loves Parker.
Hey, the ninja brings the views.
Yeah. So that was over 50 downloads, which was a new milestone for the podcast. So we're going to ride this wave here and talk baseball. It should be fun.
Yeah, we'll try and keep it going.
Yeah.
We'll see if baseball is as interesting as American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, so if you missed that episode, we talked to one of our friends from college. Jordan wasn't with me. Jordan's filling his place today, which is why it requires courage to step into that spot. But our friend Parker Gatewood competed on American Ninja Warrior last spring, and he told the tale of what happened, and it was a fun podcast. Did you listen to any of that?
I listened to parts, didn't have time to get all the way through it. But yeah, from what I heard, it was a very entertaining podcast for sure.
Yeah, it was good. Got all the NBA in there, so.
Yeah, and of course Parker's really pumped because he's got his boy LeBron in LA now.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good one if you're interested in going back. That's a good one to listen to. But let's get to it, Jordan. We got a lot to talk about. I want to ask your thoughts on the All-Star game. First of all, I just want to say, though, I love the way that they started this game with the flag, those who served in our armed forces for years, and honoring those heroes. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was a great way, to just show the support from all those guys. And, it really speaks to what sports are about, Jack, in the aspect of, you have so many great athletes, but not only great athletes, but great guys too. A lot of them use their platforms very well. And it was a really nice sign of respect, I think, before this game took place.
Yeah, and July is my favorite month of the year. I don't know about you, but it's my favorite month of the year. I love how we're in the middle of summer and the days are long, although they're starting to get shorter, which is unfortunate. But it's warm. You can go to the beach. I love how American everything is. 4th of July is one of my favorite holidays. And then you got the Midsummer Classic with America's pastime. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff there. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and July is what? Is it the only month that baseball is the only major sport going on? Of course, we had the World Cup this year, and golf is always going on in the wonderful month of July.
Yeah.
But apart from those two,
Wimbledon.
And Wimbledon was very entertaining as well. But from a major, NBA, NHL, NFL
the Big Four.
Yeah, the Big Four.
Team sports.
This is, I believe, the lone month that only has the MLB, correct?
No, August sometimes.
NFL preseason.
College football.
Yeah. And NFL preseason is late August often, I think.
Well, if you consider the preseason.
Hey, big football fans love the preseason.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could look at training camp right now, but in terms of, you get these 2 months here July and August. And personally, Jordan, I enjoy having a little bit of a break from everything. It gives me a chance to get outside, play some golf, go to the beach. Yeah, great time of year.
I agree. Right there with you.
But this was a pretty entertaining All-Star game.
It was indeed. Bombs away, Jack.
Yes.
Bombs away. And to be quite honest with you, this game really replicated what the game is right now. Did it not? I mean, with all the home runs, we had a ton of strikeouts in this game, too. I think both sides struck out at least 12 times. But very entertaining. I thought with all the home runs that were being hit, it was a very, very entertaining game.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the first 5 or 6 innings, I was a little bored. Mm-hmm. Not bored, but it wasn't satisfying me the way that I had hoped because of all those strikeouts. But then it really picked up really quickly after that.
Well, yeah, I think after the bottom of the 7th inning, we only had one half inning where a team didn't score a run.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the bats caught fire a little bit, caught on to the pitching.
But in the meantime, up to that, I love these interviews that they do with the players while they're playing. Do you like that touch?
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. It adds such a different aspect to the game. You don't get that really ever. To see a guy and see what he's thinking and everything.
Yeah,
and I just think it's very entertaining, a very entertaining touch, and it's always funny when a ball's put in play and stuff during those interviews because you get like the live Reaction from the guys.
Yeah, the Mookie Betts at spring training.
Yeah, just phenomenal. So yeah, I think that's a really good touch, and I think it's a good way to do it. To be quite honest with you.
Yeah, outstanding job there. Fox started doing that last year. You can't really do that in any other sport, as you mentioned. So it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to have a wide receiver answering an interview question by running around.
But I had a friend who texted me, and he was like, I don't get why they aren't interviewing the players while they're off the field. Talk to the guys who are off the field. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is great. Like, This is like, I said I tweeted, I said it's like a next level fielding clinic. Do you remember those VHS tapes when you were a kid where you'd watch those tapes of like it'd be a pro player's hitting or fielding clinic? Do you remember those?
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember at least commercials about them. Yes.
Yeah, I had some of those, of course.
They fix your swing and all?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I did go to a pro player's clinic one time. I think that helped.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
For sure.
I mean, but I like those tapes, and this was next level because it's like they're able to talk you through what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're going to be doing, and they're in the middle of a game while they're doing it. They're not just out on some field with like a high school coach hitting them pop flies or anything like that.
Well, that's the thing, and I think a lot of the average baseball fan probably doesn't think about all the things that a player has to think about while they're out on the field. And I think interviewing them the way that they did in this All-Star game and the way you mentioned that they've done a little bit in the past, I think it gives a different perspective kind of from the player's point of view.
Yeah, and also in the case of Charlie Blackmon, I remember his interview the most. Maybe it's because he was on there the longest. But he was very honest. He was saying, like, yeah, you do get bored when you're playing the outfield sometimes and you don't really know what, the ball's only coming out to you for how many seconds each game. So he was talking about how he keeps himself interested, how he gets them entertained. And you factor that in to what you're thinking about with these interviews. Mm-hmm. You get these players in a unique way where, like, I don't want to say they have nothing else going on, but you're helping them pass the time and they have to answer all the questions that you're asking.
Yeah, and it just puts another thing on their mind out on the field.
Yeah.
Definitely keeps them entertained, that's for sure.
Yeah, and everyone's having fun. Like, obviously, I would never want this to happen in a regular season game.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
They need to be able to focus on what they need to focus on during a game. But, yeah, I think for, like, an all-star game setting, even maybe a little bit in spring training, I think it's a good touch.
Yeah, spring training, it works. The MLB All-Star Game, fact or fiction, Jordan, is the best All-Star game. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's fact pretty easily.
Yeah.
Look, the Pro Bowl's bad in my opinion. I don't think really anybody truly enjoys the Pro Bowl. And I mean, the NBA one can be entertaining, especially late if it's a close game. But apart from that, I mean, it's just a lot of dunks and no defense. But I think, yeah, I would say the MLB one is as entertaining. And we had the same debate, me and Connor, my roommate, and you know him very well.
Yes.
We had the debate of the dunk contest or the home run derby, and we both easily said the home run derby was a lot more entertaining as well. So yeah, I think yeah, true. I think the MLB does a good job with their All-Star Game weekend. I do think there are some things they could add that would be very, very entertaining.
Oh yes, do tell.
I was thinking, some type of outfield thing where you would have like a mannequin or something set up at home, and you could have like an outfielder throw 6 or 7 throws from a certain spot in the outfield, and if they hit them or something, you could get points. I think that would be really entertaining for some of these guys to like showcase their arms.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. That makes me think of the Rick Vaughn wild thing with the mannequin in Major League.
Oh, good old Ricky Vaughn. Give him the heater.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just one.
What about a skills competition? How about that?
What would that entail, do you think?
You catch some fly balls, and you got to run in, and then you got to make some throws over to first, and you have to do it quickly. And
yeah, I think there's a lot of things that they could add that would be very entertaining. But again, I think they do a good job with it now. I think I really, really enjoyed the home run derby, and I thought the All-Star Game was very entertaining as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think the guys still try. They still play. They have a they have their big moments, the matchups against the pitchers. They want those at bats.
Yep.
And you're probably going to get even more of that long ball or bust because everyone wants to hit a home run in the All-Star Game.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, the matchups are just outstanding, and you're not going to get that in any other sport. Actually, my second favorite All-Star Game is the NHL. Right now,
NHL.
I know you're not a hockey fan.
I can't say I often watch the NHL All-Star Game, but yeah, I could see why it would be entertaining. I would think the guys would give a lot of effort. Maybe.
Well, they do a 3-on-3 tournament.
Yeah,
now.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
different side of hockey than you see normally, for sure.
So I want to talk about just 2 points from this game, and then we'll move on because we're not going to spend too much time on the All-Star Game, but. The first point, I feel like, we're giving a lot of love to Fox, so I feel like it's fair for me to have one critique.
Yep.
I think Joe Buck was a little too hard on Joey Votto after that ball popped out of his mitt. Actually, it never was really in his mitt. It hit off his mitt, and it was over the dugout.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a tough play.
He kept calling it an error, but Can it actually be an error on a foul ball? I don't think so.
And it's not like it was just a routine fly ball. It was a little bit of a tough play. It's in an All-Star game. Anytime you're getting close to a dugout in the All-Star game, you're not going to risk it or anything.
Yeah. And knowing Joey Votto in a regular season game, he may just dive right in there, head first to catch that.
Yeah, but you're playing in an All-Star game. You're not going to risk it. Should he have made the catch? Probably. But again, I didn't think it was that poor of a play. Yeah, Joe Buck was a little tough on him, but I do like Joe Buck in the All-Star game. I thought he did a very good job.
Yeah, I think he's great.
For sure.
But I do think that I didn't like how much flack Joey Votto was catching for that because, yes, Gene Segura hit a home run later in that at bat, but that was not a routine play.
That was the problem. If Segura grounds out or pops up, then it's a different story. But after that play maybe should have been made, it ends up being the big home run.
It seems like people were talking more about Votto for that than they were for Josh Hader for serving that up to him.
Oh, good old Josh Hader. Let's not get into him.
No. We will not. There are other podcasts for that.
Yes, there are. That one might take a while.
All right, let's move over to something else. The other thing I want to talk about from this game, from another Red. This was a guy who I thought should have started in the All-Star game. I thought it was ridiculous that he did not. I know Cubs fans will not like that I'm saying this. How about Scooter Gennett? He almost didn't play in the All-Star game. The whole game, I was just like, please put Scooter Gennett in. Please, I just want to watch Scooter Gennett. Now, there probably aren't that many people across America who want to watch Scooter Gennett as badly as I do. However, he gets in and he hits a home run to tie the game. How about that?
And it was clearly a big knock too.
Yeah.
And you've been a big advocate of him kind of all season. You got me kind of on the Scooter Gennett bandwagon very early in the first half of this season. When you look at the numbers, should he have probably started this game? He very well probably should have. Obviously, Cubs fans are not going to like that. And how about, Baez was very close to not starting this game either. Right before the last day of voting, I believe Albies was ahead of him in the voting. And then Cubs fans rejoiced and made sure Baez ended up starting this game. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think Scooter Gennett was probably the right option to start this ball game. I mean, he's hitting 326 at the break. And for
he's he also is putting up the power and production numbers too.
He is indeed. And again, this is a Reds team that was supposed to be really, really bad, and they're only 9-10 games under 500 at the break. They were supposed to be probably one of, if not the worst team in the league, and he's been a big part of that. So I get it. I mean, Scooter Gennett, a guy from Cincy's never going to beat out a guy like Baez, a flashy guy in the votings process, who obviously has had a good season himself. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think he was probably worthy, and I was happy to see him get that big hit. I knew a big smile was on your face when he hit that one out of the park.
Yeah, I picked him in our fantasy league both the last 2 years, very late.
Sleeper.
And what a pick that was.
It was. It's paid off for you.
Yeah, I thought he should have started, but looking at the National League, Jordan, were there any other guys that you felt should have started? I mean, I'm not saying like you had a huge to have a major gripe with anything, but were there any guys you would have liked to see in there instead who you thought were a little more deserving than those who were voted in?
I mean, look, Paul Goldschmidt has the name, but I think Aguilar has had the better season as to this point. Aguilar's right around 300 with 24 bombs. Goldschmidt 280 with 21 bombs. So I think Aguilar had a little bit of a better first half than Goldschmidt. But clearly, I mean, Paul Goldschmidt is a superstar name. He's been a superstar for the past couple of years. So I get the voting process. But he was probably the one. That was probably the one to me, Jack, that made a lot of sense. That probably Aguilar could have started over Goldschmidt.
Actually, Freeman started.
Oh, whoops. Well, DH.
You're talking about Are you talking about the final vote or no? Oh, you're talking about the picks.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually voted for Aguilar for first base.
But I mean, he was close, was he not? In the voting?
I mean, he was in the final vote.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was pretty close. Yeah. But yeah, like those numbers, were the best numbers for a first baseman going in the break.
Yeah. I'm not talking off of the voting process. I'm just talking straight off numbers. He probably should have been in the lineup over Goldschmidt in the DH slot.
Yeah, it's funny. We go from one former Brewer to one current Brewer. Both guys who were actually, funny story is that they waived Scooter. And I don't know if it was to make room for Aguilar, but it was that same spring. Mm-hmm. And those were both guys who were out on waivers that the Brewers were just, they were done with Scooter. They thought, he's not anything special. And they were really high on Aguilar. And it's just funny how they can be correct on an assessment and maybe not correct on the other assessment, but it can work out well for them regardless.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of talent in the system that ended up elsewhere.
Aguilar came from Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, that ended up working out for them, though.
Yeah. Another guy who was there, who they moved, was Gene Segura. Mm-hmm. So he was in the All-Star game. So a lot of Milwaukee connections.
There are indeed. And I would say, Jack, on the NL side, the only other one, I mean, Bryce Harper. So I get it. It's in Washington. It very well could be his final year there. He started this game. There's a couple outfielders that were probably more worthy that could have started over him.
I don't think there are any super strong outfield options in the National League. I mean, Markakis and Kemp had a great start. Mm-hmm. They both started to dip a little bit. I mean, not like a huge dip. I mean, they definitely deserved it, but that third spot, you really could have put in a lot of different guys, but
I agree.
Unfortunately, there wasn't any super strong,
standouts that, would have made it like, are you kidding me that Bryce Harper's starting?
Yeah. I wanted Almora in there.
I know you did. You wasn't able to sneak in. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly.
I understand
Yeah,
it.
for multiple reasons. Let's be clear here. I mean, Christian Yelich was a very worthy All-Star.
Yep.
Blackman was a worthy All-Star. Lorenzo Cain, another pretty worthy All-Star. He's hitting 293 at the break. So I mean, there were worthy guys that you could have really put any of those guys over Bryce and would have been like, all right, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I watch a lot of Cubs games,
Mm-hmm.
so I understand how good Almora is. He's third in batting and how great of a defender he is. Unfortunately, the rest of the league saw how many plate appearances he had,
That
which
is a very
is
quick
not
indicator.
his fault.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
quick
so I understand
Yeah.
it. I understand it. I do think, I wish he had more plate appearances so he could be in there.
Understandable. I get where you're coming from, my friend. I hear your frustration.
I had two others that I would have swapped.
Who would you have swapped?
I would have started Suarez at third.
Suarez at third. Okay. Yeah, I get it. That's again, a lot of these. Here's the thing we're looking at a superstar name that the fans are always going to vote for. So, for example, Arenado. I mean, he's a superstar name. Goldschmidt, a superstar. These guys are Bryce Harper, a superstar name. These guys are going to get votes really, regardless of how their first halves are. But I mean, Arenado had a really good first half. So I get the Suarez. He has the higher batting average, and he's a little bit less power wise, I think, than Arenado. But I probably would have leaned Arenado's way just because if the numbers are closed, I mean, the superstar, I think, is always going to kind of get the edge.
The thing I have a tough time moving past is looking at the home versus road splits for Colorado players. Because if you look at Arenado's, he's at least 100 points better at home than he is on the road. And maybe more than that. So I would have liked to see Suarez in there. However, this isn't like an outcry.
No, yeah,
I mean, both guys should be on the team. And the other one is I voted for JT Real Muto to start at catcher.
How dare you, Cubs fan? Yeah, I mean, look, Real Muto's had a great year. He's hitting 310.
Yeah.
And really, it's rare for a catcher to hit for a good average.
Yeah.
He was hurt for a part of the year, correct?
Yep.
That was probably where that came into play. Because I think from
not
a batting
from the
average,
fans.
Yeah, true. And look, again, big market versus Miami. It's the voting system.
Yep.
It is absolutely the voting system. I would probably have started Contreras there just because of how many games Real Muto did miss. I think he missed 20+ games in that first half.
Yeah. I think Posey also deserved it too. So again, that was pretty fair, I would say, though. But I think Real Muto is a little underrated, though, is what I will say.
Yeah, he's been a good player for them for a couple years now.
Yeah,
he's kind of always been an underrated catcher.
All right, any in the American League?
Look, the American League, I think, different than the National League in a lot of. I think there's so many standouts.
Yes.
That outfield is about as good as an outfield as you can put together.
Oh my gosh.
It's literally about as good as an outfield as you can put together. And I mean, the guys that come off the bench even in that outfield are just phenomenal players.
Yeah.
I really don't have many gripes in the AL. It's hard to really come up with a case.
All right, well, if I had one, I mean, again, this is minor. I mean, these are guys who both were on the roster. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to see Lindor at short, if you're factoring in defense.
Okay.
Machado hasn't been as good defensively at short as he was at third base.
No, he was a phenomenal third baseman.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And he's been some near average, I would say, at short. Mm-hmm. And Lindor's been great.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And again, you were looking at a guy who, Machado was on a last place or close to last place at least team last place. Last place team in Baltimore. And then Lindor's playing for an Indians team that's in first place in the Central. So I think that's a case you could have made. The only thing is Machado's hitting 20 points higher than Lindor, so I think that's kind of crucial, and their power numbers are pretty similar. But I get it from a defensive standpoint. Lindor probably is the better shortstop from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, and the fans aren't going to look at that. But
they are not. No,
Machado. I saw Machado play in Chicago at the White Sox park which you can insert any name in there for it now. I saw him there 2 months ago, and he is, I can say, one of the best players I've ever seen in person. He was phenomenal.
Yeah,
so
he's a phenomenal talent. And we're already starting the Phillies 2018-2019 campaign for Manny Machado.
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about with Machado in a little bit. There's one guy. Did Nicholas Castellanos make the roster? I don't think he did.
I know he definitely didn't get in the game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he made the roster or not.
Because he's a guy that, I mean, obviously wasn't going to start. However, I don't think he was too far away in terms of like the talent drop. I think Judge is the one guy that maybe you could say, maybe like Castellanos or Brantley or someone like that could get in there.
Yeah.
I think Judge deserves it, and he's a big star, and it's good to have him in there. But I don't think there's a big drop off from first half production wise.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the roster for this. I'm not seeing his name. I don't think.
Yeah, and he's having a really nice year. I would like to see him in there.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, he has had a pretty good year, but again, he's playing on a team that
is overachieving a little bit.
Yeah, maybe 16 games under 500, and maybe overachieving a little bit.
I thought they were going to be the worst. I thought them and the White Sox would be the two worst teams in the division, but the Royals have been.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah, that's a big rebuild coming on for Kansas City.
All right, do you want to revisit some of our predictions from the spring and how they're looking now, or do you want to talk Machado, or do you want to hold off on that?
No, we can jump to the predictions a little bit.
All right. Well, I don't really want to look at like what we're going to be thinking moving forward, changing predictions, anything of that. Sure. But I would like to look back on some of our picks that we made and talk about which ones look good and which ones look bad. And I know I can talk about a couple of mine that look pretty bad right now.
I'm pretty sure I can be right there with you. Looking at the standings.
I'll let you call me out if you want to go for it.
Jack, I would never call you out intentionally. I want you to speak your own mistakes.
All right. I thought that a couple teams who I thought could be in it at this point as sleepers were the Orioles and Royals. That is not the case.
No, that is not the case. Those are not looking great.
I said I thought both teams would eventually be sellers, but I thought that the roster with the bats and whatnot, I thought, hey, maybe they could be sleepers. But definitely not.
Yeah, my one from the AL that is not looking great is I had the Angels being a wild card team. And they're at least already nine games out of that spot. Their pitching has not been where I kind of was hoping or expecting it to be, but they are above 500, so it's not as bad as the Kansas City and Baltimore.
Pick was my Twins pick.
Yeah, your Twins one isn't looking too hot, but. Yeah, it's still not a great choice because there's a lot of teams that are going to have to jump to get back into a wild card scenario.
Yeah, they've had a lot of injuries. It's been a bad year. So
yeah, a little bit unlucky. And you hate to waste another year of Trout's prime. Very frustrating.
Were there any teams that we were saying we thought would be pretty bad that are actually doing pretty well?
I think Seattle, right?
Yeah.
I think both of us were very low on Seattle.
I said they were around 500 maybe. I think we both may have said that. I'm not sure, though.
Yeah, I think I said they were a team that I really didn't have much to talk about. I didn't think they'd be very good.
You did say that.
And there were 19 games over 500 at the break. So I slept on them a lot. And look, they lost Cano, too,
Yeah.
It's ridiculous kind of how good this team has been able to be.
How are they doing it, Jordan?
They're doing it in a couple different ways. Gene Segura has been just absolutely phenomenal for them. His bat, he's over 320. We did both say that we thought D. Gordon was a very good signing for them.
Yeah. And now he's playing second base.
Exactly. So. Yeah, he was in the outfield initially, remember? And we were like, I don't know defensively.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been great for them. He's a guy who, once he gets on, he's such a weapon. And he's hit for good average, too, and that's the key with D. Gordon. If he can hit for good average, he's a very effective player. look, they've done it with that, and then I mean their pitching is kind of overachieved. To be quite honest with you, Jack, they've got.
Yeah.
I mean, James Paxton is.
He struggled a little bit.
He struggled a little bit lately, but was great early for them.
Yep. No hitter.
Yep. Marco Gonzalez is kind of overachieved. That's a good arm for them. He's won 10 games at the break. I mean, they've got some arms. Mike Leake was always kind of a what's the word for Mike Leake?
Flow.
Traveler. Kind of all over the place, Mike Leake.
Yes.
But look,
NL Central.
NL Central. He was a Red for a while. But I mean, his ERA is 4.22, but he's been a solid, middle of the rotation guy for them. They've been their arms have overachieved. Their worst starter's been King Felix. so
yeah,
I mean, it's been an impressive run for the Mariners so far, and look, they're looking primed for a run at potentially making the postseason.
I'll do another one here in the AL West. How about the Oakland A's?
That's another one that I think. I said I didn't have too much to talk about.
Yeah, I think we both were like, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Dustin Fowler. We listed off some guys who were like, we'll be intrigued to watch them. But man, that's been a fun team.
Yeah, and I tell you what, they look like a team that could potentially stay around too.
I think they will. Yeah,
I think they will too. Sometimes you see these teams in the first half, and they just don't seem to have the pieces. Sometimes their run differential, is very telling. Sometimes some of these teams are like 8 games over, but have a negative run differential. To me, this team seems like it can stay around. It did have a couple overachievers, and really the lineup to me isn't overly intriguing. But I do think, they've got a lot of guys who, while they don't hit for great average, they do get on base a lot, and I think that's been kind of the key for this team. That's that Billy Bean baseball. Yeah. Has worked for him. And along with that, you look at, this is a staff, Jack, that has had some injuries here and there, and still has been able to be good. Sean Manaea has been just fantastic for them all year. And they've gotten good starts from a couple different guys here and there. This does look like a team to me that can hang around. I don't know if this is a team that can make a push for the wild card.
I think they can.
I think they'll be borderline maybe, and just because I do think there's, again, right now that second wild card spot pretty much is them and Seattle, and that's about it. So yeah, I think it's gonna be very telling in the second half. See if my Angels can come back, fight their way back into the wild card contention.
I've got one more team this is one team that I may have said was going to have the most losses this year, other than Miami, was the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 2 games over 500 at the break. I mean, there isn't a whole lot to talk about with them.
Yeah.
They're not contenders or anything, but I mean, I think it goes to show how smart that front office is, that they moved all these guys and they're still winning.
Yeah, I think we both had them at the bottom of this division.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, they've been impressive. They're another team that, and this is the great thing about baseball, man, where you won't see it in other sports often.
Yeah,
is
worst
that,
to first.
Yeah, worst to respectable in a year. Yep, and hopefully they can keep it going. Again, this is another team that you look at them, you're like, do they have enough to keep it going? But yeah, they had an impressive first half, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Definitely. The really big interesting thing is what they've been doing with their pitching staff. They've been Jordan, they've been using Sergio Romo and other bullpen guys as openers.
Yeah, that to me is such a weird thought process. Have they been doing this? Do they throw 1 inning? Is that what it is?
It depends, I think. Mainly 1, though.
Yeah, I haven't been able to catch too many Rays games. But yeah, it is a very interesting thought process, Jack.
Well, the idea is, okay, you are going to start the game with 3 left-handed hitters.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to put a lefty in there, and we're going to make you pay for that. So we can assure the matchups for the first inning. Maybe we put up a run, and then we're playing with a lead. And then the guy can come out of the bullpen. Now, I think it's really tough to do this with starters because they get into a rhythm. They have their routines.
100%. Yeah, and let's be clear. I don't think this would work with a lot of veteran starters. I don't think they like it one bit. I don't think John Lester's going to want one guy coming out for 1 inning and then him throw the second.
Or Jake Arrieta.
And I don't think Arrieta either, no.
But I think it's cool. I like people trying new things.
Yep.
And, this is just their team like Oakland. They're very similar. They've just been very smart teams who found ways to win without having a lot of money and just thinking ahead of the curve on stuff. So that's been interesting. Just as like a big-time baseball fan, that's something that I find interesting, even though they're a mediocre team.
For sure, and you have to respect the fact that they're 2 games over 500 at the break. When we
in
had
a tough
them last
division.
in the division. Yeah, exactly. In a challenging division. And of course, Baltimore's kind of turned out to be a walk in the park when you play them. But, Toronto can be a little bit tough, and obviously playing the Yanks in Boston is not fun. So, tough division for sure.
On a lesser scale, has anyone else disappointed you in any regard? Because I can think of one team that I would have guessed in the American League that I thought would have a lot more wins given their division. And
I think this is pretty. I would say Cleveland.
Yeah,
to an extent. I mean, look, they're 9 games over 500. They're already 7.5 off in that division. But I thought this team was going to be right there with the Boston, the Yanks, the Astros. And, they're, 10 games out from any of those teams. So while they're handling their division, while we will see them in the postseason again this year as a division winner probably, I would say they've been a little bit disappointing as a whole. And, what do you account that to, Jack? Do you account it to the playoff runs and maybe they just feel like they can cruise their way? Because it's not like Lindor and Ramirez have had bad years. They've had great years.
Well, a lot of guys have had really nice years on that roster.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting year that they're only 9 games over 500.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't think they're too concerned about the division. Like, I do think they are.
I wouldn't be.
Yeah. It does make me wonder if they were in another division, if they'd be waking up a little more, winning more games. However, I'm not concerned about them long term because they're going to have like a free ticket into that playoffs. They're not going to have to play in a wild card game. And really, Jordan, this is the same thing they did last year. People may forget. They started slow last year and had a great second half. Terry Francona is a manager who can get his players to respond well and be playing at their best at the right time, being hot at the right time, which they've done the last couple of years. Now, last year, it didn't work out for them, and they caught the Yankees and went to 5 games, and it didn't work out for them. But they have such a talented roster, and their pitching staff looks like it's getting even better with Trevor Bauer now emerging, and now they just added Brad Hand, so they're going to have a
great trade.
Yeah,
great trade.
They have a bullpen that can go toe-to-toe with anyone, maybe the best in all of baseball with those 3 guys that they have.
Yep.
So I think that this is a team that's built better for the playoffs than they are for the regular season.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take, and I think you touched on Terry Francona a little bit. I think he's a phenomenal manager and one of the best in baseball. And I think another thing, we touched on Ramirez and Lindor, and Brantley's had a great year, but some of these other bats really haven't had great years. And if those guys start to catch fire a little bit in the second half, the Jason Kipnis's, the Edwin Encarnacion, he has 22 bombs, but he's only hitting 220. If he catches fire a little bit, these are guys who have had successful seasons in the past. And if they're able to, heat up a little bit along with the superstars playing the way they have, and Lindor, Ramirez, and Brantley has had a great year too. You touched on the pitching staff. This is definitely a team I think that is primed to make a run.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to say about Kipnis is he also last season got off to a slow start. I think he's done this before. He ends up being okay, knowing Kipnis. This is super talented roster, and knowing the way that they've been great at drafting players. I'm sure they have some guys left in that farm system that they could move. And, they made a big move. I don't think they have to get anything else, but I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to add a couple more just glue guys, position players who could help hit for contact and whatnot.
Yeah, I agree. They're a very intriguing team, Jack. It'll be interesting to see how they play in the second half and heading into the postseason.
They're a team I would buy low on right now.
I think that's a fair take, yeah. And given their success the past couple of years, I think it's a very, very fair take. This is a team that, while they haven't had the dominant first half, it's a team that's going to be there when it matters.
Are there any other specific teams that you really want to talk about? I mean, we haven't really mentioned Boston and New York.
Well, look, I think it's fair to say, and I don't know if you would agree with me, I think the 3 best teams in baseball are all in the American League.
I think you could say the 4 or 5 best teams are in the American League.
I think Boston, the Yanks, and Houston are the 3 best teams in the league. And I think that's pretty clear. I'm not really sure you can make an argument to that. The wins say it. Really, the talent on these rosters say it. And look, these are teams that have all been there too, so the experience says it. These are the 3 best teams in baseball. We kind of thought Cleveland would be there too.
Yeah.
But obviously the record's not there right now. And after those 3, I think you can make a strong case for the Cubs. But
or the Dodgers.
Now. Yes. Oh, yes, especially post Machado. Yes, I agree with that. But look, the American League's got the 3 best teams in baseball, and the postseason, that's going to be a bloodbath an absolute bloodbath, because the talent on these 3 rosters is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't really have any other AL thoughts. Do you want to save our MVP picks for the end? Or do you want to toss in the AL
might as well
MVP?
Just toss them now.
Okay, I think we can both agree Mookie Betts is the American League MVP at this point.
I would agree 100%. If there's a case for anyone else, who is it? No one else has won 68 games in the first half, and no one else has hit nearly 360.
Yeah, I think you could put Trout in there.
I think that's a fair take. Yes,
the Altuves, the Trouts. I'm trying to think if there's, one guy who maybe, these guys are pretty far behind, though. Maybe not too far behind, but they're in the conversation for runner-up. Another guy who I thought could have been there up until recently was Jose Abreu. Mm-hmm. He's been ice cold over the last month, but he was having a great year.
260 or something, 250 or something now, isn't he?
Yeah, but he was hitting like 320.
Yeah,
about
that's why he ended up starting the All-Star game.
Yeah.
He's a fair take. Look, I just think, again, Mookie Betts, along with nearly hitting 360, he's a 23-18 guy when it comes to homers and stolen bases in the first half of a season. He's been the clear MVP on the AL side.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
All right, let's move over to the National League.
Woohoo!
Which we're going to have even more thoughts on, I'm sure. We're going to continue with this theme of where we were right and where we were wrong. Okay. And I guess I was kind of right with your NL East, because I said I thought Atlanta and Philly were pretty equal with each other where they were at in their rebuilds. However, I wasn't sure, I didn't think they'd be this far into their rebuilds.
Yeah, well,
at this stage, I guess.
Oh, I'm a little worried about that division. Heck no, I'm not. I'm completely joking. I'm pumped about this division. But again, I took Washington not only to win the division, they were my World Series pick. So in that aspect, I am a little worried. But look, we kind of had the same thoughts on these guys. I thought on this division, I thought the Phillies were ahead of the Braves a little bit in their rebuild. But I thought Washington was the clear best team in this division heading into this season. But again, here's the thing about baseball is that teams can come together, and really it only takes a couple guys to really get clicking, and you start to see teams gain confidence over time. And that's what we've seen with both the Phils and Atlanta. Atlanta heading into the season probably did not think they were going to be able to compete the way they are. But Freddie Freeman, he's been the stable piece. And then you get a couple guys like Albies, who had a great first half. You get Acuna up, and he's played pretty well. You get a couple of pitchers who are maybe overachieving a little bit. And, of course, Nick Markakis. Nick Markakis out of nowhere just decides to hit 300. What is he at right now, Jack? 323 or something at the break. And it was higher until a little bit of a recent skid. Look, this is a team that, again, you just get a couple guys overachieving. You get some confidence early in the season, and that's what the Braves were able to do, and that's kind of why they've been able to be right where they're at. I think the Phils are a lot in kind of the same position as the Braves are from that aspect. Herrera had a good first half. Hoskins was out a little bit and then came back, and he's been swinging a really good bat. I noted at the beginning of the year, I thought Jake Arrieta was a great signing, not only because of what he was going to bring from himself, but I thought he was going to help some of these younger guys. And
yep, you did say that.
Nick Pivetta and Vince Velasquez have both taken big steps forward. Zach Eflin has taken big steps forward. And Aaron Nola has turned into one of the best pitchers in the league. I still think the Phillies are a little bit ahead of the Braves from not only a talent aspect right now, but where they're at in their rebuilds, just because I think their pitching staff is better. I think the Nola, Arrieta, Pivetta combo and Zach Eflin, who has really kind of overachieved. He was not good last year, and all of a sudden has 12 first half starts and a 3.1 ERA, and he's 7-2. Sorry, yeah. I'm rambling about my Phils.
No, you're good.
I have a lot to say. And look, this team has surprised me. One, because this team is 11 games over 500, and their best hitter is only hitting 275. That's mind-blowing almost.
That's crazy.
That a team is able to do that. And for the Nats, they've been disappointing. But again, here's where my worry is as a Phillies fan. Their Nats are only 5.5 out. Really, about as much that could have went wrong for this team in the first half kind of did. Harper was abysmal at the plate apart from his home runs. His batting
Murphy and Eaton were out for a while too.
Yep, I was going there. They've had a couple of key injuries. Strasburg's hurt again. The worry is, and Trey Turner really was out a little bit. They've had a lot of injuries. And my worry is that this team, I think even Rendon missed some games. This team, when all those guys are back, they've got one of the best lineups in the league. And that run is coming. It's absolutely coming. I think the Nats will go on a run here in the second half. It's going to be very entertaining, I think, to see how these young teams in the Phils and Braves kind of react to the Nats making that run.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you pretty much summed up that division well enough, so I don't have to say much else. I will say I would like to pat ourselves on the back for that neither of us started drinking the Mets Kool-Aid.
We did not.
That first month in. We both were like, yeah, no, this is not going. They're not going to sustain this, and now they are in last place.
Do you feel bad for Jacob deGrom?
I do. I hope that help is on the way and he gets freed soon, but I don't think it's going to happen ultimately.
The man has a 1.6 ERA, Jack.
Man.
And if you look at his starts and then the wins that have come with the starts, it's just mind-blowing. It's just, He has like 3 different games where he threw 8 innings, 1 earned, and lost the game or didn't get the decision. It's just, oh my God.
It's not fair.
No, it is not fair. He's been phenomenal. I think he deserves a shout out for that from that team.
Yeah, I think so. And I do hope he gets traded. I would like to see him on the Cubs. That'd be nice. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to ultimately get moved this time around, but maybe he will in the future.
Yeah, it'll be intriguing. I handled all of these. Let's have you jump in on the Central.
Oh, I absolutely will. One more thought I want to get in on the Braves. Mm-hmm. I think that I want to ask you something on the Phillies too. Yep. I think the Braves aren't going to be huge buyers, but I feel like they're going to end up picking up Moustakas and to fill and plug in at third base. What do you think?
I've actually seen some Phillies rumors about him too. But I don't think they're anything serious because if you look at the numbers between him and the Phils third baseman Maikel Franco, they're very similar. So it doesn't make too much sense for the Phils. I think that would be a solid play for the Braves. I think you try and find a guy who, a veteran presence on a young team. I think Moustakas could kind of fill in there and give them some good at bats down the stretch here.
The other guy who I could see being moved to fill that hole, I know a lot of people were talking Machado. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not the case. However, Josh Donaldson, if he ever comes back from injury, it would make sense to move him because he's also in a contract year. So
yeah, it'd be interesting, the injuries there, if a team would want to maybe take that risk. And Donaldson may be a little bit over, a little expensive for the potential risk and then the rental that he would probably be. But yeah, that would be an intriguing move. I've also seen Adrian Beltre, a third baseman, whose name has been tossed around a little bit. He would kind of make sense for them, I think, too, if they were trying to make a move.
Let me ask you real quick, and you could talk about this from the Philly perspective also if you have any other thoughts on the rest of the division. With the trade deadline approaching, it's crazy. That's going to be in a week and a half.
Oof.
My gosh. Summer's going by way too quick.
It is.
But let me ask you, what are you wanting / expecting Philly to do? And do you think there could be any movement elsewhere in this division? I mean, we hit on the Braves. I don't think they're going to do much other than that third base, maybe. I mean, some minor moves here or there for some pitching, but nothing huge. What do you think?
Well, look, I think the big splash that they had the opportunity to make was the Manny Machado move, because this is a team that has the prospects and could have maybe gained a leg in the Machado free agency race that it is definitely going to be this upcoming offseason for him. So Machado was kind of the first piece that I would have kind of liked to see them make a splash. It was going to take top-tier prospects, but the thing is the Phillies have them. And for a guy like Manny Machado, it very well may be worth it if it gives you an edge when he hits free agency. But they didn't go there, and I think that's okay just because, again, it's a very risky move with a rental. My second was going to be Brad Hand. I would have loved the Phils to make a move for him just because I think you can never have enough good bullpen arms. I think it's so important to have guys like him that you can kind of count on to get outs. And really the Phils bullpen right now, while it has a couple good guys, it's not a great bullpen in my opinion. So he was somebody I would have liked to see them go after. Now I'm hearing the Beltre, potentially. You're seeing the Moustakas rumors. I really don't love either of those moves. I think Maikel Franco is a young third baseman who is putting up very similar numbers to Moustakas and could potentially be a long-term option there.
Yeah.
So I just don't love making a move for a guy like that for a rental, and then you're gonna halt the Maikel Franco growth because again, while the Phils are in first place, this is a team that is still very young, growing, and I think this year is going to be great. Whether they win the division or not, I think it's to be great just from an experience standpoint to get that experience of what could potentially come down to a pennant race.
Yeah. Good stuff there, Jordan. Thank you for providing the National League East insights there. I appreciate that.
Got that division on lock for you, Jack. I'm counting on you for the Central.
Okay, real quick, I'll just relay this back to our predictions. You were a lot higher on Milwaukee than I was. I have to give you credit there for the first half. The Cardinals have had a weird year, but they're still in there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're in it.
Which is a team that I liked, which kind of looks foolish on my part because I was trying to defend their bats, which haven't quite been there yet. Mm-hmm. However, so that's where we are. The Cubs are honestly right around where I'd expect them to be at this point.
Yep.
So I think this looks pretty similar to what we were expecting. The other thing I said was that, I was giving a lot of love to the Reds, and I said they weren't going to be horrible. So give me credit there.
No, you deserve credit, and that's actually impressive. In this division, the floor is only 10 games under 500.
Yeah.
Which I believe is the best in baseball. It is indeed, yes, by, 5 games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you did give the Reds credit, and I'll give you credit there, but I am going to brag a bit about my Milwaukee. Yes. So, at least in the first half, it's still early.
Yeah. All right, why don't you ask me some guided questions on this, Jordan? I'll let you be the host for a little bit.
All right. Well, I think the Cubs have won, 13 of 15 kind of heading into today, I think was what I read. Is that correct?
Something like that. They also have played some pretty bad teams.
Hey, you can only beat who you play.
Yes, but they are playing St. Louis right now, so that's a big series.
Yes, it is a big series. So you said that this team is kind of where you expected them to be at, Jack. How do you feel about this team kind of in the second half? Is this a team that you think is kind of one of the clear, if not the clear favorite in the NL? Do they have all the pieces you think are needed? Where do you think this team is at this point in the year?
Well, as we have touched on with the American League, the National League is a lot more open.
It is.
So there's a window there that a team that really isn't great can take advantage of. So I think there's a case to be made for the Cubs. I think there's a case to be made for the Dodgers. I think there's a case for anyone in the East or like some of these teams in the West.
Yeah.
I think the Cubs definitely Cubs and the Dodgers are the two favorites at this point, given their track record of playoff success. Now the Dodgers have Machado, and we'll talk about that. But the Cubs are, I mean, they're where I have expected them to be. I wasn't super high on them coming in. I thought they did a lot of the things that failed them last year in the playoffs. They basically, they doubled down on what didn't work last year. And though they can hit a lot of homers, which suits you well for the regular season, the playoffs, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. The pitching has been a big disappointment, big time disappointment there. Darvish hasn't pitched in a long time, and he may not again this year.
Yeah.
And when he has pitched, he hasn't been very good.
No.
Tyler Chatwood, he struggled a lot. Jose Quintana was a guy that I liked coming into the season. I thought the Cubs wildly overpaid for him last year. They gave up Eloy Jimenez, who have you gotten to watch him in Charlotte yet?
I have not, no.
But he's a beast. The Cubs emptied their farm system on some of these trades, and now they don't have. I mean, they can make some moves, but they're not going to be able to get a Chapman type of high impact guy at this deadline. And that was Gleyber Torres that they traded.
Yeah.
Bring me back, Jordan. I'm going off the rails here.
So, I mean, you touched on Yu Darvish, and I know you weren't big on that signing initially.
Yeah.
Does this first half kind of give you the sense that you're correct there? Do you still think he's a good option there long term?
I don't. I never thought he would be good long term. But it's actually funny. The talk around the town right now is they think he might retire when his player option comes after year 3.
Oh, wow.
So I don't. Yeah, people are jumping the gun on this. I don't know if that's wishful thinking from them. People are not happy with that signing.
In a playoff rotation right now for them would be Lester, Hendricks, Quintana, correct?
Yes,
and then,
we don't know. Maybe Mike Montgomery, who's been plugged in and he's done pretty well, but I mean, still, that's not.
Is that a winning strategy come September, October?
I don't know. But I mean, I don't think. I think the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers pitching more. I like the Giants. I mean, the Giants pitching is up and down, but they have a Bumgarner type of guy.
True.
Cubs have a Lester. Arizona's got good pitching. I don't know. It's so weird because I don't know like what to compare the Cubs to because of how weird the National League has been this year.
A lot of teams are there, and a lot of teams can make pushes in the second half.
Yeah.
And then one more question on the Cubs.
Yeah.
One, you were big on Addison Russell, or not necessarily huge.
Oh, yes.
But he's had a great year, Jack.
Yes. The two guys, Jordan, we agreed on one of them that we said the fans are really underappreciating right now. I thought would have a really nice bounce back year. Addison Russell and the guy we agreed on, Jason Hayward. Both those guys have been great for the Cubs this year.
Fantastic, and really, apart from Baez, kind of the two very, very key parts to why they're in first place right now.
Yeah, I would really say that those three guys and Albert Almora have been their four best position players, and Contreras too. But
yeah, Contreras. Yeah,
I mean those are all guys who give you a lot offensively and defensively.
And then lastly, Cubs wise, are you worried about Anthony Rizzo at all?
A little bit. He's not having a very good year. He's shown over the course of his career that he's a streaky hitter. He's inconsistent, but he just doesn't seem to have the fire beneath him right now. He doesn't there was a play a couple weeks ago where he back-to-back plays, the ball hit off his glove, and he had back-to-back errors, which I don't know when the last time I've seen that in a baseball game was, other than watching at our Little League game. So you don't see that very often. It was really weird, though. There was a pickoff move over to first base after a runner got on base because of an error that Rizzo made, and then Rizzo didn't run after the ball. He just kind of walked over to it, and Javi Baez chased it down, and the runner ended up scoring from first on that play. It just doesn't seem like the same Rizzo. I think they were expecting him to be the clubhouse leader, and I think they need a David Ross type of guy in there for them.
Do you think, look, this is a team that's been there now, 2-3 years in a row contending. Do you think it's that clubhouse maybe starting to think, well, we'll be there when it matters.
Maybe
we can turn it up we can turn it up whenever we need to. I mean, again, they're still in first place. I still think this team's easily the best team in this division.
Yeah.
While Milwaukee's been surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but good so far this year, and St. Louis is there. I still think the Cubs are the clear favorite here in the Central.
And Jordan, I'm tough on the Cubs, but the bar has been set. They won a championship, and
that's fair. Yeah,
we do not want to go another 100 years before we win another one. So,
and you only have so many chances.
Yes,
this is a championship contending team right now.
Yes,
and you only have so many chances before you got to start hitting the rebuild.
Yeah, the thing I would say in conjunction to your locker room question is this is another discussion point from Cubs fans is people are starting to question Joe Madden, which is really interesting because when he came over, I mean, what he was capable of with the Rays. Your Phillies played that Rays team in the World Series.
Yeah,
I think Joe Madden specializes in taking under-talented teams and helping them overachieve. Now, whether or not he can sustain success with a group of super talented players and veterans, can he keep the locker room buying into his approach? And can he manage egos? That's going to be the question, I think, moving forward. I think people are starting to have some questions about that. I know I have some questions about that, but yeah, I think that'll be interesting to look at.
For sure. Yeah, I would say I think you hit the nail on the head on a lot of those points. I would say the Cubs are the clear favorite in the Central. I expect them to win this division and really be there, when it matters in the NL playoffs. Because like we said, I mean, there's a lot of contending teams here, a lot of teams that are in contention, I should say, but not a lot of it doesn't feel like there's too many true contenders in the NL this year, which is very weird. Because normally, there's at least three, maybe four teams that you feel like can make a run. But the East is so shooken up, and then it just feels like the Cubs and really the Dodgers are the two clear contenders out of the NL. So I think down the stretch, I think this team, it's going to be interesting watching them in the second half, though, because we're about to see, is this team ready for a true pennant race where Milwaukee might be right there, and you might see some big games, in September. I think it'll be interesting to see.
It's just been a roller coaster of a team the last two seasons.
Yep,
I would say.
Yep, I would agree.
Very high points, very low lows. And one more, I don't know if I should say this. Should I bring up Schwarber?
No.
Okay, I won't.
No.
We both were okay. We did it now. You can tell I want to.
Yeah.
We were the ones that, I mean, can we just bring up the point that people thought he was going to be in the MVP voting this year?
Let's fix this. Not Cubs fans.
Cubs fans, yes.
Thought he was going to be.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think anybody outside Chicago did.
Yes.
They saw he lost a couple pounds, and they thought he was going to be an MVP candidate.
And hey, Kyle Schwarber, nice player, but not an MVP guy.
No, for sure. But Kyle Schwarber is what Kyle Schwarber is.
Yep.
He's a very mid-tier to low-tier average guy who will hit home runs and play very mediocre defense in left field.
And tailor-made for the home run derby.
Tailor-made for the home run derby.
Absolutely. And I hope that doesn't sound like the scene in Happy Gilmore where he's like, you would be great in those traveling around the country and competing in those long drive competitions.
No, he is the perfect fit, though, because that's the way he swings the bat regardless. So it's not like he's going to ruin his swing or anything, the derby. And, I mean, he put on a show. There's no two ways about it.
I actually, going into that, I was a little like, Kyle Schwarber, that's interesting. But as I was watching it, I was like, man, he is one of the best just pure home run hitters in the game. Let's just get those guys in there. Let's get Joey Gallo in there. Let's get...
I think Gallo's done it before, hasn't he?
I want to say maybe.
I feel like Gallo was in it one year. Maybe not. Maybe. But I would like to see him again. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Chris Davis, guys who are just strictly home run hitters.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Swing-wise. I mean, that's why all those guys aren't in it. That's why Judge isn't in it, Judge doesn't want to ruin his swing. The guys like that, I should say.
Yeah.
And Harper won it. It'll be interesting to see if Harper comes back next year and does it again. Maybe if he has
I don't think so.
Maybe if he has a big second half, he'll be like, maybe it fixed my swing.
I think, that's good. I like that. I think that the whole him being in Washington, the All-Star game being there,
I think it fit perfectly. It was just a good story, the perfect story.
Yeah. All right. We got to touch on some of these other teams just a little bit. I think we should talk about the Brewers, and then we have to talk. You know what team coming into this podcast? I was taking a shower and I was thinking about what team I was most excited to talk about on here. You know who that was?
The Cincinnati Reds.
The Cincinnati Reds.
You might be the lone person who is brutally excited to talk about the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what it is with me and the Reds, but it's just
I think you cheer for them when they play the Cubs.
No.
All right, let's start Brewers. Jack, heading in, I thought this team was going to be good, and they are good. I thought the two signings they made were fantastic, and Yelich and Kane both have been crucial bats for them, both over 290, both have provided some power, both on base very consistently. And my one question was kind of the pitching with this team. And, some guys have turned into very solid starters for them. Don't butcher the name. Chachin? Chacin. There you go. Chacin.
Yeah, from San Diego last year.
Yep. He's put together great innings for them. He's 8-3.
Yes, surprise.
Yep.
How about Freddie Peralta? How about that guy?
Freddie Peralta is another great arm. 2.65 ERA and 7 starts.
Yeah.
Is he a prospect for them? And then got called up.
I believe he was.
Called up. Mm-hmm. And then Junior Guerrera has also been a good arm for them. 3.2.
Junior Guerra.
3.2 ERA. That was my one question with them. I said this team's going to be able to produce offensively.
Yeah.
I thought if they could have a couple of guys overachieve, or maybe not even overachieve, just get better as a staff, I thought they were going to be there to compete. And I'll tell you what, they're 12 over 500 at the break, and it looks like a team that is set to contend for at least a wild card and maybe push the Cubs a little bit in this division.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jordan. Also, I said the same things about the pitching, which is why I ultimately sided with St. Louis in terms of wild card in this division. However, I also want to say, as surprising and good as this pitching has been, I mean, everyone knows how good their bullpen is. The last thing I want to toss in there is that if there's a team that Jacob deGrom could get traded to, I could see it being this team because they have the prospects to make it happen, I believe.
Well, that would make things very interesting.
Yeah.
Because, deGrom has been, look, I know the record doesn't indicate it. He's been probably the best pitcher in baseball this year. At least when he's been out on the mound.
I would say so.
Yeah, when he's been out on the mound. And, that would make them extremely dangerous because now, when you're sending John Lester out in game 1 of a playoff series, potentially he could be going against Jacob deGrom, and that's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
It's a whole different animal when it comes to a playoff series. And not only that, Jack, if this team ends up being a wild card team and you have Jacob deGrom to throw in that game,
yep,
all of a sudden that's a big difference from whoever you were going to go with. Look, I know they've had some good pitchers. Some guys, pitch well. But if you can get a guy like that, that's big time.
Yeah, so I love what this team has done. They've been, even as a Cubs fan, first of all, I'm not a hater of any teams. You know that, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very open-minded.
Except maybe the Cubs.
My fellow fans think so, but this has been a team that I've really enjoyed watching. They've been a lot of fun. Yeah. They've been very entertaining, and I do enjoy how good that outfield is defensively, how good those guys are contact-wise, and they have some speed too.
They do.
So they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would say they're here to stay contending-wise.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. All right, let's talk your Reds. Get everything off your chest.
Okay.
You want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds.
All right. Well, the first thing I want to start with that seems to be a current topic of conversation is if they'll trade Matt Harvey. Mm-hmm. What do you think on that first?
I don't think the market will be overly strong. I get Matt Harvey the name. I just don't know how many teams would really want to add him. He's a little bit of a head case.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, and maybe that was the New York thing getting to him a little bit. But again, he hasn't thrown overly well, really. You know, it's not like he's dominated for Cincy. So I mean, they can try and trade him maybe and get a prospect or two out of it, but I don't think the market's going to be too strong for a Matt Harvey.
Yeah, I think if they do want to trade him, they're probably better off waiting and seeing if people show that he's sustaining success in a big-time hitter's ballpark, by the way.
Yep.
That could be a guy that maybe you could move. However, the way the team's playing, I don't really see why you'd want to start selling off players, because I truly think this is a team that could be in the mix next year if they get a couple of pitchers.
I would agree with that. I mean, this team's stacked with bats, Jack.
Yeah.
Like top-tier bats, guys who can really put together really, really good years. I mean, Joey Votto, we talked about him a lot on our first podcast together, the preseason one, and how we think he's kind of underappreciated. He's put together another phenomenal first half. Did you see the stat? I have to bring this up. Did you see the stat today that in the last, I think it was 9 seasons, Joey Votto has popped up to the infield 7 times?
Yeah, I saw that.
That is mind-blowing.
Another one. Go ahead.
That is mind-blowing. When I read that, I had to double-check like 7 times. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That whoever dug up that stat.
Yeah, that might be more impressive than the stat itself.
Yeah.
No, it's insane. I mean, that shows the type of hitter he is. He doesn't give away at bats.
No. And his OBP is over 400 again, I believe.
422.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
a great defender.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Scooter Gennett, your guy.
Wait. I got one more fun Joey Votto tidbit. Okay. So you are not subscribed to The Athletic yet.
I am not, no.
Not yet. You will one day.
Yeah, at some point, yes.
So they did a poll of about 250 players. This was around the All-Star break, and they polled them on a lot of fun conversations. If you have a subscription to The Athletic, I really recommend going and checking that out. The question was, who is your favorite player to talk to when you get to first base? And Joey Votto was the winner.
Interesting. Because I feel like, have you ever seen, I mean, you watch him a good chunk. He likes nagging on opposing team. Like when he was in opposing team's fans, like when he was in Philly, there was a foul ball towards him, and he walked over and like fake flipped the ball to a fan, and then just rolled it in the dugout. He likes frustrating people. I can imagine he's a pretty cool guy to talk to, though, for sure. I think he's a joker. He's probably jokes around, a funny guy.
He's very playful with it. It's not malicious.
Yep.
I want to tell you 2 quick funny things that I've seen him do. Now this is becoming the Joey Votto show. He did. Okay, this was a couple weeks ago. He faked like he had those flip-on sunglasses over his...
oh, yeah.
He faked it. He acted like he did, even though he didn't. That was funny. And then my favorite was he was at Wrigley, and he was doing that where he was acting like he was going to throw the ball to someone.
Yep.
And then he proceeded to throw it over the roof of the stadium and out into the street.
Just launched it?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so that's a normal thing he does then. He loves antagonizing opposing teams.
It reminds me, it's a little bit of like the Larry Bird experience where he just does stuff like that to keep him entertained.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. He'll get some booze from it, but I think he enjoys that. He looks forward to that.
One other thing he did was, you may have seen this. This was a viral tweet. He walked into the Wrigley fan entrance.
I did not see this. No.
He was going into the ballpark and he was just dressed up like he wasn't. He was just in casual clothing. Yeah. And he tried to walk through, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm a player."
He definitely did that on purpose.
Yeah, it was great.
Just to mess around. That's hilarious. Yeah. So Joey Votto, always entertaining and just a phenomenal player.
Yep.
Phenomenal. And then your boy Scooter obviously has had a very, very good year. And Suarez at third base. I think those 3 are really the 3 big pieces of this team.
Yep.
And look, I think they're all really good pieces. I think you're right when it says if they could get a couple arms, this team could be very intriguing come next season.
Yeah, it was interesting. about 2 months ago, the big talk was they'll probably try to move Jeanette because they got this guy Nick Senzel in AAA, and they really like Senzel. He's supposed to be a beast. But then they saw it, so they thought they moved Jeanette, create a spot for Senzel. I saw a report last week that now they want to lock up Jeanette to a long-term contract, whose deal is up after next season, by the way.
Interesting.
And they might try to move Senzel for pitching help.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think when you find a player, you find somebody you can count on, like a Scooter Jeanette, who has that good of a half. I mean, he's a guy who's here to stay, to continue to be a good player in this league. It's not a fluke.
Yeah, but now on the flip side of that, I don't even know what kind of package you're getting back for Scooter Jeanette at this stage.
Exactly.
So you got to keep him.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think teams would throw out top tier prospects just because they probably don't have enough to go off of him. At this high level, although he's kind of always been a pretty solid player, really, since he's gotten into the league. He was with Milwaukee for the first 3 or 4 years.
He was 280, I think, a couple times there.
Yep, and last year he was 295. So really, he's been he's been underlooked for years.
Yeah,
he's been a good player.
He has been, and he went back home to Cincinnati, where he's from. Yep. Perfect fit. It's been a great story. I love it. It's been a lot of fun. I think they have some guys in the outfield. They have a lot of good outfielders. They could potentially move maybe a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
You look at Jesse Winker, who's been nice. I think he's a rookie. Scott Schebler, Billy Hamilton. I don't even know what you do with Billy Hamilton. That's a weird one. And then M. Duvall. So they have a lot of bats. You can move maybe 2 of those guys, again, to get some young pitching.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the good old Cincinnati Reds do.
Yeah. And Tyler Mahle, he's been okay, I think, as a starter.
Yeah, they've had, pitching-wise, it's kind of been their downfall. But, he's been solid. He's a little bit above a 4 ERA.
Yeah, he's been a little up and down, but he's a young guy. They like him.
Yep.
Harvey's been okay. So there's some pieces going into next year. And, hey, a former Cubs manager, Jim Riggleman, getting the job done with them. This has been a fun team.
It has been a fun team, for sure.
So that's it for me on the Reds, I think.
That and the Central as a whole, correct?
Yep. Well, I think we should mention Pittsburgh has been interesting. I think they're right around where we expected them to be.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think either of us was very big on them. You might have been a little bit bigger on them than me. But I mean, they're right around 500. They've got 3 teams ahead of them that are all better than them. I can't see this team doing much from any a type of a push here in the second half.
Yeah, I think I said both these teams I had between 70 and 75 wins.
Yeah.
So not terribly below 500, but a little bit below 500, and that's been the case. Pittsburgh, the one thing I will say about them that's been fun, because I do watch a lot of these teams a lot, is I really do like their young pitching staff.
Pittsburgh's young pitching staff?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some guys that are intriguing.
Joe Musgrove, who the centerpiece of the Garrett Cole trade, he's shown the potential to be really good.
Yeah, none of them have really shined.
Yeah.
But you're right, they have put together some good outings here and there.
Yeah. It's
Jameson Talion.
Yeah.
Tyon, 0 for 2.
Yeah. Well, that's up for debate, I guess.
Yeah. Ivan Nova, he was with the Yanks for a while.
Yeah. He's
been an okay starting pitcher. He's kind of been.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Nick Kingham, Tyler Glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler Glass now has been interesting. They've been using him out of the pen a little bit. He's been a little disappointing. Mm-hmm. They had higher hopes for him. But what they've done is they've stacked the deck with young pitchers, and they're hoping that maybe 2 of them can end up to be really good, and they'll be in good shape.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. And then should we move to the West?
Yeah, finally. We can go to the... Should I put in my NL MVP pick at this point?
Yes, you need to throw it out there.
All right, Scooter Jeanette.
Good old Scooter Jeanette is Jack's NL MVP choice.
He is in good position to win the batting title. He's put up the power numbers. He's been great production-wise. A lot of RBIs, over 60 RBIs, over 15 homers, I believe. So, and he's really been the one guy in the National League that's really jumped out at me.
If the Reds finish in 5th in this division, and he has similar to a first half, maybe a little bit less than what he did in the first half, finishes at what, 310, 315. Do you still think he has a case?
So he finishes at 315.
Yeah, finishes at 315.
I don't know. Because I was thinking if he's over 320.
Okay.
But regardless, it depends on what he's up against.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Right now, there hasn't been anyone that's really jumped out, but that could change really quickly.
That could change very, very quickly.
Freddie Freeman is a guy who's been in the conversation.
He would probably be my choice at this point.
Yeah.
Just because he's been the centerpiece of a Braves team that's overachieved heavily, and he's had a great year.
How much value do you put on winning for the MLB MVP versus others?
I don't like to put too much, but
I think it's important.
I will say if there's very similar statistics, you always go with the guy who has the better record.
Yeah.
Or at least is on a contending team over a team. So, for example, in the AL, if Mookie Betts and Trout finish with similar numbers, I think you go with Mookie because Boston is as good as...
Yeah. So, really, then it depends on where does Scooter finish with his batting average. Because if he stays at 320 and he gets back up to like 330, I mean, that's hard to vote against. It
is very hard to vote against.
Even if he doesn't have a whole lot of power numbers from this point forward.
Mm-hmm.
However, you also have last year, it's funny, the two guys who I think were top 2 in National League MVP voting were Votto and Stanton, who were both in last place.
Hey, sometimes that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Baseball's an interesting... I do like that in baseball, though, that even if you're on a really bad team, if you have a phenomenal year, you still have a chance at it.
Yeah. And then maybe that's just the state of the National League right now because there aren't any great teams.
Very well could be. Very well could be. Yeah.
All right, let's do the West.
Let's do the West.
What did we say coming into the year? I picked the Dodgers to win the World Series.
I picked the Dodgers to win the division, and I believe I had Arizona as a wild card team.
Yes, I did too.
So, I mean, it is pretty spot on with what we were looking at. You were bigger on the Giants than I was.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I think you were because they signed McCutchen and...
No, I said I wanted them to do well, but I...
Oh, you wanted them to do well.
Yes, because of McCutchen. I was I want to see them in the playoffs, but I was like, I didn't really see it. Because that was such a huge jump record-wise. There were 65 wins. So they brought in a few new guys, and now are they going to all of a sudden swing that 30 games the other way? I didn't see it.
But they have been respectable.
They've been better than I expected, and probably better than you expected.
Yeah, and I would say Colorado is kind of in that same boat. I think we both had them probably third in this division.
Yeah, close third, though.
Yeah, and they're tight with both San Fran and Arizona. Really, this division's pretty tight right now. Only 4 games separate the first and fourth place team. I expect the Dodgers to make a big run here in the second half. I think a Machado signing kind of points a lot towards that. And they were without Kershaw for a majority of that first half. Is Clayton hurt again?
I'm not sure.
He's been a roller coaster, really, health-wise. But as long as he's on the hill and they stay healthy, I think this team is the clear best in this division. I would expect them to make a run here in the second half, Jack, and run away with this division a little bit.
Yeah, I think we'll see that. I think Arizona, though, could also do the same thing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have the pieces to hang around.
Yes. I think they could add another bat like they did last year.
That is true. They could do that.
That'll be interesting to see.
Since the Dodgers added Machado, it'll be interesting to see if Arizona tries to make kind of a corresponding move to that. But again, if they don't, or if they're unable to, or they make maybe a small move, I think the Dodgers end up winning this division. And I mean, we both had Arizona on the wild card, and I mean that looks like it's a pretty solid choice right now. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. One guy I want to talk about from Colorado is Kyle Freeland. Has been a nice pitcher. Underrated, I think.
Good old Kyle Freeland. I have not seen Kyle Freeland pitch this year. Oh, yeah, 8-6 with a 3.11 ERA.
In Colorado.
Yeah, he's been really good. He's clearly been their best arm.
Yeah, he's been very good. And I think he was the pick after Nola in the 2015 or 2014 draft. Fun fact there.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Is actually pitching better at home than he is on the road.
Better in Colorado?
Yes. So he's got 2.76 in Colorado.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Because clearly that's a tough ballpark to pitch in.
Yeah. And he's only in his second or third year. So this is a guy who I think really should get some more recognition. Won't, because his numbers won't look as good.
Mm-hmm. But
if they do get in the playoffs and you get to see a signature performance from him, he's a guy that I like a lot, who I think is underrated. And this podcast gives me an outlet to show love to players that I don't think get enough love, which I clearly have done. And I wanted to do that right there with Kyle Freeland.
I respect it. Yeah, I hadn't even heard much about him, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, he's definitely went under the radar. He's been fantastic for them, and probably a big reason of why they're 6 games over 500.
Yeah, they've had some. Chad Bettis was pretty good to start the year. He struggled a little bit. Nevertheless, he's been a great story, knowing what he's had to go through just to be pitching again. Mm-hmm. That's been cool.
For sure. Are you in the same boat with the Dodgers? You think they'll end up winning this division, running away with this division? Okay.
I mean, I have them winning the World Series. However, I do think that we could see both the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks getting really hot here. As you said, if the Diamondbacks answer with a big move of their own, mm-hmm. just to get a big bat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, JD Martinez kicked their offense up a couple levels last year.
Yep, for sure.
And yeah,
it'll be interesting. Will they make the corresponding move after Machado goes to LA? That's a big.
Another guy on the Dodgers is Ross Stripling. He's been great for them.
They have a couple key pieces, and they were without. The big thing about them is they were without Turner a lot for a majority of kind of that first half, or at least a big portion of that first half. They're a better team when he's out there, and it's not even that he produces at the highest of high levels, because he hasn't had that great of a year, or really a good year. But I just think he brings a veteran leadership to that team, and after losing Seager for the year, filling him in with Manny Machado, you can't do much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You truly can't do much better.
Okay, so we talked about this big Machado move. This is, I don't typically like to do this, but where do you think he's going to go next year?
I think it's between the Yanks and the Phils. He's been quoted that he wants to be a Yankee, so I would not be surprised if he went there. But I do think the Phillies will be able to offer as much or more money. So we'll kind of figure out. Clearly the Yanks are going to be competing for World Series titles. So if he favors winning, he very well may end up there. But if he favors money, I think the Phils will be able to offer more.
How about Bryce Harper?
Harper, to me, look, I would say the Cubs, but they made that big move for you. I just don't know how much money how much can you toss out?
Yeah.
I don't know where are Rizzo and Bryant on their contracts, because have they gotten their big ones yet?
Well, Rizzo was a guy that they locked up when he was having a bad year, his second year.
Okay, so that was smart.
Yeah.
Because, you can only have so many guys that you're paying the monster bucks.
Yeah.
You obviously is receiving that. So I was thinking if Chris Bryant's kind of in that same boat where he's going to need a contract soon, they may have to.
I think he's got 2 more years after
2 more
this
years.
one.
So maybe they decide, we'll give Bryce the money and then, go for it all these next 2 years and see if it pays off. But Bryce could go a lot of ways. Honestly, if the Phils miss on Machado, I wouldn't be surprised if they throw the money at Harper. I surely hope the Yankees aren't in play for Harper, but you never know. They always seem to be in play. I haven't heard as much about Harper as I have heard Machado, though.
Okay, I got a couple. I have one place I'm thinking for Harper. Mm-hmm. LeBron just went out to L.A. He's going to make some movies and whatnot.
Yep.
I feel like Harper might want to do the same thing because L.A. is pretty great.
Uh-huh.
So, Dodgers or, dare I say it, the Angels.
That would be the big splash the Angels kind of need.
Which they have been they've done a lot of this in the past. Josh Hamilton, Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
I don't know if the money's there, but they have the type of owner who would wildly overpay for a guy like
Well,
Harper.
I think that makes a lot of sense too, because they're going to lose Trout probably in 2020. So maybe you say, you know what, we've got to try and get the best out of the Trout years that we possibly can. We have the money. I don't know if they have the money either, but if they do, I think that would be very intriguing fit to have Harper and Trout on the same team. You'd have to believe that would bring viewership.
I would think so.
If nothing else.
Yeah. Well, also marketing out to the West Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is interesting. We could talk for a second on the state of the game. I think baseball is really popular in the South, in the Midwest. I don't necessarily know how popular it is on the coast. East Coast, definitely. I'm not sure about the West Coast, but if you had a star like Harper out there, I mean, that probably, I mean, I don't know if that's good for the game, bad for the game, but I think that would draw more interest on the West Coast.
Here's the problem is you have the star and Trout out there.
Yeah.
And it's not doing it's not doing great things for the game. So maybe if you get those two together and it's like a dynamic duo type deal, I don't know. But I mean, the Dodgers have stars, the Dodgers have guys.
Yeah.
They just made the big deal for Machado. So we'll kind of see.
That's true.
That's a good example there. We'll kind of see, how the fans kind of react to having a big superstar.
Nevertheless, I don't like it when people are like, baseball is screwed. I mean, they're making a lot of money. It's pretty great. I mean, we love it, and it's been
phenomenal.
Fun. All right, is there anything else? I mean, I think we touched on everything here. Is there anything else you want to talk about baseball-wise?
Look, Jack, I think we're pretty good. Go Phils.
We both, another one.
Run.
I got one more that we were both right on. We both said the Rangers weren't going to be very good. And our old pal...
somewhere Tex is about to throw hands. Yeah, I remember because we posted the podcast and Tex was not happy.
Yeah, he was tweeting at us and like writing on Facebook, and he's like, "Are you kidding?" Like,
Tex, we love you, but your Rangers are in a rebuilding stage.
All right, Jordan. Well, lastly, do you want to get a business plug in here? You want to promote social media, anything of that nature?
Let's just do the social media. You can follow me on Twitter at RealJMorandini and on Instagram at RealJMorandini or at Jordan Morandini. I can't remember which of those two it is, but one of the two. And I post some sports stuff there every so often.
Do you have you gave your NL MVP pick. Okay.
Freddie Freeman for now.
All right. Yeah. So go follow Jordan. Jordan, I can include a link to Hype if you want me to.
Sure. Toss that in. Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. If you want to check out Jordan's business, he's got a lot of really cool shirts and stuff and apparel. I will include that link in the blog post where this podcast is found. Jordan, thanks a ton for coming on, man. This is a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun. And hopefully I'm able to do the postseason one as well since we've already done the pre and the mid-season.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we'll do some more baseball also in August with not a lot of other stuff going on. I know you're going to want to come on for football too, so I'll make sure to get you on.
With my Jaguars looking how they're looking. Absolutely, Jack. I want to talk about them as much as possible.
All right. Well, thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Jack.
So there you guys have it. Jordan Morandini coming on the podcast. Finally was able to work this out. I know we had teased this for a while. So thank you guys for all listening to that. I thought Jordan did a great job. It was a lot of fun going in depth on everything baseball-wise. It's been a lot of fun. Been a great first half. So if you have any thoughts on anything we talked about today, who you like coming out of the National League, if you think the Cubs are going to make a big move, what the National League looks like after Machado goes over the Dodgers, feel free to tweet us. My Twitter is at Velveeta7. That's at VELLVITA7. Very active on there. Love interacting. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about there. Am I too high on Scooter Gennett, let me know. I would love to hear what you guys think. Other than that, if you guys would like to subscribe to the podcast, that would be a great help. And if you want to write reviews now that we're on iTunes, that's Press on Sports on iTunes. We have no reviews yet. So if you want to give us some feedback on there, help get the word out there, the 5-star rating, as I would suggest. Greatly appreciate that. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Find us on Spotify, wherever you would like to listen to this podcast, you likely can other than SoundCloud. We're also on YouTube, so look for the podcast wherever you want to find it. You'll find it, and thank you so much for everyone who's been listening to it. Coming up on the podcast, we should have some more movie podcasts coming up soon and other sports talk. It's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it the summer. So thank you all for listening. Hope to keep you guys posted on everything coming up soon. Other than that, I'm good for now. Bring in the Dancing Lobsters.